Russia is a nuclear armed state which has a doctrine that allows it to use nuclear weapons when its territory or integrity is threatened. And Ukraine has just done that. It has invaded the Russian region of Kursk. And this could be catastrophic not only for the region, but for the entire planet. Let's have a look at what has happened. Ukrainian troops launched a surprise attack across the border in early August, advancing up to 18 miles into the Russian region of Kursk. Almost 200,000 people had to be evacuated from that region. And NATO say they don't know about this. They didn't know about this. And it was a surprise to them. But do you really think NATO didn't give them any information, any intelligence? NATO has spy satellites circling the entire planet, and they have been surveilling this entire border. Yeah, actually in Ukraine's entire border since this war started. And there are reports that this was planned for over a year. So I'm guessing NATO was probably surveilling this region heavily and checking to see where the Russian soldiers are, how heavily this region or this part of the border was manned. And they done this for a few months, maybe a year, and they looked at a pattern where the Russian soldiers move, and when they saw a good time, they picked up the phone from whoever is in the NATO headquarters, picked up the phone and told Zelensky, listen, this is your chance, move in. And and now the Ukrainians they have blown up bridges, yeah, and they want to dig in because Zelensky said that he wants to create a buffer zone, right? And the ultimate goal is, I think, for him is to negotiate land swaps because they're invading this bit here and Russia is here. Now, the BBC is saying it's an incursion, but it's actually not an incursion. This is an invasion. And this is what Russia was afraid of. This is the reason Russia did not want Ukraine to join NATO in the first place. Now let's have a look at NATO's border with Russia. Now look at this. This is from the NATO website. Look, Finland joined NATO. Look at the entire. That's thousands of miles, right? This is thousands of miles right here that Russia has to man. That Russia is afraid that they can invade from anywhere here. And if NATO joined, I mean, if Ukraine joined NATO, this is another 2,000 miles of territory that Russia has to be careful of. And why did Russia invade Ukrainian territory of Donetsk? Because these people are Russian speaking people that live here are Russian speaking. And Ukraine had been shelling and bombing the area for 2 years before Russia invaded. It went in there to save its people. And this was NATO's plan all along to get into Ukraine, to get Ukraine into NATO and to launch an invasion of Russia. Now, Alexander Lukashenko is saying that Ukraine is pushing Russia to use nuclear weapons because that will lead to a global crisis where, all the allies of Russia probably will initially back off, because if Russia uses a nuclear weapon, and it will give NATO an excuse to go and invade Russia. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Mind, there'd be huge losses for Ukraine if its forces tried to cross.
This kind of escalation on the part of Ukraine is an attempt to push Russia to asymmetric actions. For example, the use of nuclear weapons. For sure, Ukraine would be very happy if Russia or Belarus used tactical nuclear weapons there. They would be happy because we would hardly have any allies left. No countries would ever sympathize. And secondly, on nuclear weapons, the world has a negative view of these, so the Ukrainians want to push this possibility. They want to push Russia. Who could defeat Russia? Ukraine cannot do it. Who can? The West, NATO. We, myself and President Putin, think that NATO would then get the green light to invade Russia without hiding its intentions.
Now, Ukraine, there are reports that Ukraine has amassed nearly 120,000 soldiers on the Belarusian border. Yeah, around here. Now, Belarus has nuclear weapons because Putin has given Belarus nuclear weapons. So now Belarus is a nuclear armed country. And Ukraine has they have placed like 120,000 soldiers around here. So what is going to happen if there is a full-blown war between Russia? Obviously, Belarus will be involved because they are allies. So what is going to happen if there is a massive war between Russia and NATO? Russia will use nuclear weapons, and then NATO will use nuclear weapons. Now think about the consequences of a war like that. Think about the global economy. Think about the energy crisis. Think about food supplies. Think about global trade. Trade along this route will stop. Think about the human cost. Hundreds of millions of people, if not billions, will die. Because this is not going to be a war like you have here in the Middle East, yeah? It's not going to be war like that where you use ballistic missiles with conventional warheads. This will be a nuclear war. And it will be devastating for the human race. This entire region here will be destroyed. There'll be mushroom clouds going up everywhere, right? The atmosphere will be blacked out. Yeah, the sun wouldn't come in. The sun would be blocked. It will be a nuclear winter, right? And this is what we are looking at. This is what it will happen if there is a major war, if there is a war between NATO and Russia. The human race, as we know it now, forget about Islam, Christianity, Israel, Palestine. None of that will matter because there will be a reset, a global reset, and nature will reset if there is a war.